Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the New Hampshire Business Show. Today, I'm here with Drew Clapp from Primerica. But before we get started, I'm going to do a quick word from our sponsor, Self-Authorship. So, do you know what you actually want from your life? It sounds like a bit of an odd question, but a lot of people mindlessly spend their days, going to work, sleep, and just kind of repeating that until they die. Like, is that kind of how you want to live your life? So, take a moment, check out the Self-Authorship program, and it's at www.nhbusinessshow.com/self-author, and really dive in and find out what it is you actually want from your life. If you want to live 9 to 5, hang out with your family for a couple hours and go to sleep and repeat, sure, go for it. But if you want to, do something else with your life, you need to set those goals ahead of time. So check out the program, nhbusinessshow.com/self-author, and really find out what it is you want to do, why, and take the steps to get there. Don't have those regrets when you get older. So thank you so much, Self-Authorship, for sponsoring us, and welcome to the show, Drew.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is some fun. So let's talk a little bit about you. So before we get into the business or any of these things, let's talk about Drew. What got you here? Like, what got you interested in finance, all that stuff?
All right. Well, I grew up in New Hampshire, born and raised. Lived in Concord, moved up to the Lakes region, and then I came back down to Concord recently. And I always had an interest in finance as a kid growing up. Like, it was just interesting to see different ways to make money work for you and just figure out what options were available. And I thought it was pretty cool just how it works. And I went to school at Plymouth State University for business administration.
Okay.
And from there, I kind of struggled. I was like, okay, the information was nice, but a lot of it was common sense stuff that I was just like, it's useful, but I could do this. I could read this in a book or look online, stuff like that. And then as I started getting deeper into the classes towards the end of it and started taking finance classes and getting more of the fine details, I was like, this is something fun. And near the end of my time at university, my grandmother passed away, and that kind of disrupted things. And in the process of the probate and inheritance and things like that, I ended up inheriting her house with my mom and taking care of the process of getting it fixed up, doing the selling it. I went through a private buyer, and I ended up realizing I'm getting scalped. And I ended up backing out of that and going and finding a real estate agent. And then that process was fun, and I was like, okay, maybe I want to try and be a real estate agent.
Yeah.
So after I graduated, I got my real estate license, and I joined Berkshire Hathaway Home Services, Verani Realty. And about a month in, I was at a networking event, and I met my first buyer, and he actually is a representative with Primerica.
Mm-hmm.
So we started building a bit of a relationship, and he was like, hey, I want to tell you about this great company. And he showed me the works, what they do, how we work. And from day zero, I was like, I'm sold. And I've been a part of the company since April 2016.
Okay.
And it's been quite a journey.
Yeah. That's cool. So you said April 2016?
Yep.
So that's a good amount of time, a couple of years now almost. Pretty cool.
Oh, wait. 2017.
1 year.
My
1
bad.
year.
Yeah.
Got it. Rolling up in your first year. Cool.
Yeah.
So I like that. You went from, so you said you went into business administration?
Yes.
Was what you started off as?
Yeah. And I had a minor in professional communication as well.
Okay. So what were you originally planning on doing, if you know?
I had no idea.
Oh.
I went business administration because I could go anywhere I wanted. And I was more interested in going down like a managerial track, and because that always been an interest of mine. I always wanted to work with people, train, new recruits, and show them the ropes more or less. And I like working with people, and I feel I do best working with them one-on-one.
Yeah.
And it's just something that I thought I would be going down. It was a different route than this, and this has been the best decision I ever made in my life, was going down the route of becoming a realtor and then switching over to Primerica.
Yeah, which that's a really good place to start, because sometimes, in a lot of most cases actually, you don't find what you want to do until you've done like 4 other things first.
That's
and then
true.
you kind of stumble into what eventually becomes what you do.
Right.
And so I see that a lot. So what I like pointing out to people is, don't feel bad if, you fail a couple of times along the way. Because, when I went from just my own personal history, I worked at Walmart for a while, became a dance teacher. So I taught people like ballroom, Latin dancing and stuff. And then that didn't work out so well, which not because I didn't like it, because the owner was kind of a jackass. But but then I went back to Walmart for a little while, joined the Army, and after the Army, I've jumped around from business to business, like car sales a lot, some gym work. So it could take you a while to get to where you want to be, where now I'm doing this. And this is what I'm going to be doing for a long time, because I enjoy it, unless money just doesn't work out. And then maybe I'd pay some other bills,
Right.
But luckily I don't have to worry about money too much, so that's good. And you can take a couple of jumps, but you can get there. And
failure is how you reach success.
Yeah. So what was because you had said from the first pitch when you were talking to your friend, you kind of knew, but can you explain a little more of the moment when you were just like, this is it, this is what I'm doing, I love it? You kind of go into that little section a little bit.
Well, I became a realtor because I wanted to help people.
Yeah.
And I thought I wanted to help them buy and sell houses, because it's a big step in their life. And then I realized kind of the process was a lot more stressful than I would have liked. I have a bad anxiety disorder, and I've spent a very long time trying to work through that and handle it. And I feel I've done a good job with it.
Yeah.
And when I was presented, by my friend, how the company works, he showed us the concepts that we teach people, like the Rule 72, which kind of shows the time, power, money. And I had learned that in college, but that was because I took a specific finance class, and the teacher taught it as a part of the extra curriculum. That it wasn't something that was part of the course. It was something extra she taught along with it. And I was like, I try and teach my friends, that they should invest into a retirement account, or if they've got a 401k, they better put money into that, because that's a good opportunity for them to build to retirement as well. And it was something that I was already sort of doing, and it just kind of it flowed more naturally, and I could help more people with it than buying and selling a house, because less people are interested in buying or selling their home than they are in figuring out what their financial situation is and how they can improve it.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
So I like helping people, and I can help more people doing this.
Yeah. So that was probably kind of the moment where you're like, I can help a lot of people out.
100%.
And that kind of just drew you. Oh,
Definitely.
Cool. Awesome. So, cool. So let's talk about the company a little bit. We've talked about you, your past, what got you here. Let's talk about Primerica. At least things you can, because I know in finance things get a little hairy if we start talking about products. Same thing in real estate, mortgages. So let's kind of go over Primerica if you want to go over the history. We talked a little bit about this before, and kind of talk about the company a little bit.
The company was founded in 1977 by Art Williams. And he was a phys ed teacher and a football coach. And his father passed away and had a life insurance policy that, after everything was said and done with the distributions for how that works, his mother had nothing left over and was put in a very stressful situation financially because of it. And he went and looked at, he had the same exact policy. So he went on a crusade to figure out as much information as he could about the industry as a whole, and then found out that there's hundreds of thousands, if not more, families that have the same, lack of coverage. They don't have enough, and they don't know what they've got because the agent that sold them that policy didn't tell them the information they needed to make a good decision, and didn't educate them and teach them, this is the, how this works, and this is the choices, which one do you feel is the best one for you, and guide them along that process. So he founded what was started as A.L. Williams Company, which focused completely on life insurance. And from there, the whole idea was to educate people and teach them what they have and what better options there are, and help them become empowered to make that decision to get the better item that they need to secure their family. And somewhere along the line, as the history of the company grew, we became a member of Citigroup, the Citibank, Citi, Finance, all those, that whole conglomerate of companies. And we were like an advisory branch of them. And we started picking up a bunch of different services that we distribute through other big named companies. As far as this history is concerned, it's a little jumbled. In the late 2000s, that decade, we broke free. Is 2009. We broke free of Citigroup, and we went public. And we've been doing great since. We distribute a whole bunch of different services. We help people with retirement funds. We help people with annuities to build towards, so they can have a regular income when they're retired. An annuity is basically a self-paid pension. Yeah. And we help people through the whole range of their life. So early on, we help them become protected and build up towards the retirement and figure out, what number they need for that. And then from retirement, we help them, just in the case that, they're afraid they might live too long and run out of money, we help them figure that process out.
Cool. Okay. So, cool. So good little history there. I like that. Yeah. So, let's get into the finances a little bit here, because I had another financial planner on here a week or two ago, and we were kind of talking about finances briefly, but then I realized I want to talk more about it. So I'm glad we had this one scheduled as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to help people with finances. So.
Yeah. So what is it you guys, I guess, do for finances? I guess very broadly, like, you kind of look at their finances and kind of help them with budgeting and that type of stuff. Like, do you know what services you guys are kind of?
Yeah. So what we do is we sit down with our clients in the comfort of their home, and we first educate them as to the terms and concepts that they're really simple things that can really make a big difference in their life. And there should really be like a Finance 101 class in high school, and that teach these concepts. So we first educate, and then after we're gone through the education with them, we then do a financial needs analysis. And what this is, it's basically a financial GPS. Because, for example, if someone were to take a trip from here to South Carolina, and it's like a 3-day driving trip they want to make, and that they're going to want to map that out. They want to at least look at Google Maps, figure out what the route's going to be. And so the idea is to apply that same concept to their finances, because it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And so what we do is we take their information, like what their monthly expenses are, what their monthly income is, what do they have for debt, and a few other things, like what they have set aside for their retirement already, if they have any, or just their general savings as a whole. And we plug all these numbers into this document that it makes a living document that changes as they need it, and it's custom to them. And it puts all these concepts together and presents them in a way that people can look at it and go, okay, either I'm on track or I'm not. And if they're not on track, then I make recommendations to help them get better on track. So from there, we provide life insurance, which is it's just income security, it's protection, because while you're living, you're making money, you can keep everything together, pay your debts, all that stuff. But if you're gone, then you're working with what you got left. Your family is anyway. And what life insurance does is it secures people, it protects them from that unfortunate incident of losing that income source.
Yeah.
And we also we help people set up retirement funds, so things like a Roth IRA or a traditional IRA. If they're self-employed individuals, we help them up with a self-employment plan. And there's a whole variety of those types of products out there for businesses or for individuals, and we help them figure out which one's the best one for them.
Yeah. Very cool. So real quick, because you mentioned a couple things in there that people might not know. Roth versus traditional IRAs.
So they're very similar, but the big difference is how you're taxed. With a Roth IRA, you're putting in money into it that you've already paid the taxes on it that year. And so when you're retired and you're pulling that money out from that Roth IRA, then you're not being taxed on it because that money's already been taxed.
Yeah.
But a traditional IRA, you're deferring those taxes that year. You're putting up to a certain amount every year into that fund, and you don't have to pay the taxes right away on that money. But once you start pulling it out when you're retired, then you have to pay the income taxes for pulling that money out, because that money hasn't been taxed yet.
All right, cool. Yeah, just so people who don't know what that is know.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff out there.
Yeah, because as we start diving into this, we're gonna hit a lot of stuff that is probably going to confuse the hell out of a lot of people.
Right.
Okay, so let's go back to the very beginning. We were talking about the GPS. So yeah, kind of knowing. This is something that I talked about last time too. It's good to know this type of stuff, especially early on.
Right.
Because when it comes to retirement accounts, you want to start that earlier than later. Please, I'm going to reinforce this again.
Yes, earlier.
Yeah, because that compounding effect of saving up over time is going to help out. So getting started earlier is better than later. Just I'll point that out again.
Oh yeah.
And then, but really knowing, I guess I don't know where I start with this, but people seem to have a problem with budgets. So when we're talking about teaching from school age on, I'm kind of rambling here, but we'll get there. We'll get there. Okay, so we'll start with budgets. Budgets are fine. So, as you had mentioned, we should be teaching stuff in school.
100%.
So, a lot of people don't know how to budget their money well or properly at all. So, do you have any kind of tips for where should this get started? Like, because we mentioned we should be learning in school. Oftentimes we don't. I mean, a lot of times these are electives. So, someone's getting ready to come see you. What should this process look like for them to do this?
Okay.
If I know it was a little bit of a crazy question because I was trying to form it in my own mind,
Right.
but I think we got there.
It's a good question, and generally, a good place to start is a lot of people. The way they have it learned in their, whether it's their parents that taught them, or they kind of figured it out themselves, or they just watched and learned through that manner, through whatever role model that they had, and the way they learned is, all right, I got this paycheck and I paid, all right, this much money is going towards this expense. This is paying towards my rent. This much is going towards my car loan that I got, and okay, my cell phone bill, etc. And they're paying all that off before, and then everything else after they can do whatever they want with. And one of the things that we teach is, before all those expenses, what they should do, and we understand it's not entirely possible for everyone to do it at the start, which is why we help them figure it out when we sit down with them. But the 10% of whatever you make, that should go towards yourself. You put that into a savings account, like a retirement fund, or towards your 401k, or whatever that you have for retirement, or even just a regular savings account in a bank is a decent enough place to start anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And just forget about it. Just you have that, you set that aside, let that money be there for you for later on in life. And a lot of people don't think of that because they're like, okay, I got $120 left after my paycheck. I've paid off everything I need to pay off this month. Let's go and have dinner, and let's go and watch a movie and things like that.
Yeah.
And they don't think, okay, let's take a part of this money and let's put it away and just forget about it.
Yeah. And this is a really good point. This is what me and her name is Nicole. We were talking about this last week, or the week before, whatever. And when you're paying yourself first, you get that, because everyone likes to live up to their means. So what a good approach is to, you get paid, you're like, okay, look at all this money. Take your 10% of it out beforehand, and then learn to live up to what's left there.
Right.
So that's what you have to live on. Just consider that a bill. Like consider paying yourself as a bill. Like, you have to do it every month. Getting used to this early on is better.
Yeah.
And because it really helps you through that process of, okay, you put the money aside and then you live on what you have left, because you'd be surprised when you start nickel and diming yourself how, I'm going to go out and grab a snack here and a snack there, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, wait, I can't put anything away. Mm-hmm. But if you put it all away, you've done that, and maybe you won't snack so much or, waste those pennies as you get them.
Yeah. And a quick little story is just to go along the lines of paying towards yourself first is one of my representative friends, one of the members of my team, she was talking about how she put together a presentation for some teenagers in their early teens, 13, 14, and because they wanted to learn. And so she taught them, how power compound interest works, and how they should be investing early on, and that they learned that if they put $25 a month away into a IRA, a Roth IRA, and just ignored that by the time that they were ready to retire at 65, that $25 a month would have built up to a little over $500,000, and that just blew their minds.
Yeah.
So, and basically, as long as you have earned income coming in, you can set up an IRA.
Yeah.
And so they set up the IRA. They worked their part-time job or their summer job or whatever it was that they were doing, and they put that $25 away, and in their mind, they got $500,000 in the future coming to them.
Yeah.
And that teaching that type of stuff is just like, it's incredible. It's so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a little bit of money, goes a long way into the future.
Yeah. And I'm not going to get political. I say this every time. I'm not going to get political. I think a lot of problems we have generally in the country, especially when it comes to income inequality, a lot of it stems from this not knowing how money works.
Mm-hmm.
So I won't make you butt in on this because it's a little political, but I'll take the E for it. But a lot of these things could be addressed very early on, and if you handled money a little better, there would be a little less stress there. And I think that's why people say rich get rich, because one, they know how money works, and then poor get poor because they don't.
Yeah, and my goal is to help the middle class, the poor people, the people that they're living comfortably, but they're living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
My goal is to help them move out of that stress of what happens if this emergency happens and we have to pay an extra $2,000 this month that we don't have. My goal is to help them have that savings set aside, the short-term savings, the 3 to 6 months of their income, put aside into an savings account, just to, if something happens, midterm, that, if that runs out, you have something you can pull from. That's a little slower, but you can pull from that. And then the long term that you don't touch until you're ready for that.
Yeah. And I forgot what I was supposed to say. But yeah, it's a good point. You want to be setting these things aside.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is the one I was going to make. Like, people, go crazy and like spend a ton of money on Christmas every year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not a surprise it's coming. Like, Christmas is coming.
Yep.
You can set aside a little bit of money every month so that when Christmas comes up, you're not maxing your credit cards out. Like, that can be done.
Yes.
And I'm not trying to sound like a jerk here, but I laugh when people are like, oh, it's Christmas and I don't have any money. And I'm like, well, you had 11 other months to get ready for it. And, $25 a month, for 11 months is probably more than your kids need for Christmas. So how you handle your money can be important.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. So I think I get onto this a lot, and I find these conversations fun and interesting because I love talking finances. Because like I said,
I love it too.
Yeah, well, I would hope so. And because I spent a lot of time in the Army learning money. Because I wasn't very good with it beforehand. I'm still not the greatest. Like, I'm sure there's people that know a hell of a lot more than I do. But I live comfortably, considering, the way I live is not the least extravagant.
Right.
So it's pleasant. So knowing how it works and taking the time to learn is kind of important. So actually that's a good place to start. Besides coming to you, it's fine too. Like, how do we start learning? Like, what are some of the very basics that people should be at least addressing, so they're putting themselves in the right position? If that question makes any sense. Because I understand, we could be like, okay, make sure you understand budgeting. Like, that's important. Make sure you understand this concept, like compound interest. That's a great concept to understand. Like, what are some of the things that we should kind of be addressing from the beginning to help their financial knowledge?
Okay. Well, there are a few books out there that I'm blanking on the name of the titles of them, but like they can help figure things out, get you along the lines of okay, this is how I want to work with my money, and there is the almighty internet. Google, our overlord, has all this information present and available, but along the lines of that, actually, one of the wonderful things about Primerica is that, like, we understand that people they don't have a lot of time to look this information up. So that's why we basically present the information to them in a 30 to 45 minute presentation to show them what they got and what they can learn and things like that. And people understand that the information's out there, and that they could take the time to look it up, type up how does money work, and figure that out from there. But a lot of people, they've got work, they've got their kids, they have any extracurricular activities that they have a lot of responsibilities, and we understand that. And so we help accommodate for that by providing that education in a way that works for them on their time, then whatever free time that they have, by doing the presentations and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So, because I like helping people learn,
Mm-hmm.
and the reason I don't teach finance is, one, I'm always petrified someone's going to be like, I'm going to sue him for telling me something. I'm like, never mind.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to move into that area.
There is a bit of danger with that.
Yeah.
True.
So, but I do what I can. I can. It doesn't hurt to teach the basics, and like I can show you how to build a budget. Like you
Yeah.
probably know. But yeah, I think it's an area, like I said, I live well for as much as I make, and it's because I can manage my money.
Mm-hmm.
I made good moves in the military when I bought some real estate, and so I have money coming in different areas, and that diversification of
Yes.
of your income and stuff, which might be a little more advanced than people need to know, but having a pretty good understanding of how money works, and don't go to a department store and pick up like every credit card you could imagine. That's not good for you.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that. And it's good to see people that also understand that, and that's why I like talking to financial advisors.
Yeah.
It's fun. Yeah. So cool.
Awesome.
So let's see. Yeah, we're on about 37 minutes here.
Okay.
Do you have any tips for newcomers or people that want to learn, want to come see you? Anything you want to add into this little conversation?
Could you clarify what you mean by newcomers?
Anybody.
Anybody?
So this is just a general tip, like anything you want to tell people, or something they should know, something you think they should know. Throwing you on the spot here.
Ooh. Yeah, I'm kind of drawing a blank.
Okay. I do this. And I was like, hey, what do you go with this? Any good book recommendations? You drew a blank earlier. Maybe you've learned by now. I think.
A good one is Financial Freedom.
Okay.
It is a bit of a thick book, but there's a lot of information in there. Off the top of my head, I can't remember the name of the authors, but they go over all the ways that you could build towards that financial freedom.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I'll see if I can find the link for it, and I'll throw it in there.
Yeah.
Because any book that's mentioned, I can throw a link up there, and because I have the connections to
it's
Amazon.
It's a good read.
Yeah,
it's a really good read.
Cool. Awesome. So how do people get a hold of you if they want to learn more, get started, join your team, whatever?
All right. So I am best contacted through my cell phone, and that's 603-707-0337. And Primerica, we don't advertise.
Yeah.
We take all that advertising money and we put it towards bonuses to reward our representatives for performing well and doing great jobs, and just various different rewards to incentivize helping as many people as you can. And if you're interested in joining the team, you can also call me through that. We teach people on the job. We train them. It's basically you'd shadow me and learn doing the presentations, and we help people get their licensing. And let's say it's something that isn't something that would work for you, then you still have it's a federal level license, and then it's a financial license, and any other financial services position, whether it's salaried or another commission thing or a mix of the two, they'll take you up in a heartbeat, because it's a good license. It's great on your resume, and it's very usable.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Drew, for joining me on the show today. It's always a pleasure. Now, before we take off, I'm going to take a quick minute to thank our sponsors, Lead Pages. So Lead Pages is a fantastic site for building landing pages for your business. I use it all the time. It's actually pretty much all I use. So instead of building landing pages on your website, you can use these fantastic designs to generate them on your own and put them out there for different forms of marketing and very high converting pages. That's why I like them so much. So head over to nhbusinessshow.com/lead pages, check it out, and if you like it, jump on in. It's a fantastic service for you and your company. You're not going to regret that. Okay, so everyone have a fantastic day.